Hello and welcome to a story time painting my nails and having tea with me video. I'm so glad that you are joining me today. This particular video, story time video, is requested all the time. One of my most requested videos, which was quite surprising to me because I just didn't expect this type of video to be so interesting. As you can see, we have made our tea together. Before sitting down at this table, I'm going to begin by doing a manicure, a very, very basic manicure on my hands, which are very dry and not nice looking at all, so please bear with me. For today's video, I'm going to be discussing something that happened right before Christmas. And if you notice the inflections of my voice either increasing or decreasing, please be gentle, as I sometimes get a little caught up in the story and forget that I need to speak so softly. Also, we are at my dinner table that is very messy from toddler dried food, and I didn't get a moment to clean so perfectly before you came over here to join me. As we begin, I'm just putting out a little rag. This is just a miscellaneous rag I use for things. And I have prepared already a nice bowl to soak my nails in. I have my file and some cuticle remover cream, liquid product. And then this very big bag that many of you may have seen before. To be honest, I have not painted my nails at home for a very long time. Probably years, a couple of years, maybe 2 years. But I do not wish to go inside any nail salons at this current time, so here we are. Let's take a look at this giant bag of nail polish. I'm not going to go through it in detail. This video would be much too long, but I do need to select a color here with you. So go ahead and just glance in here and you can let me know what you like, okay? So I think for my nails today, I do need to get the top coat. Let's see. That's not the top coat I want, but I will pull it out just in case. I think let's see, what month is it? It's January, so let's think of the color. So we have this teal one. I'm not really feeling that. Also, my nails are very short, so sometimes using bold colors isn't the greatest. Oh, here's some gold. Is this not a good idea because New Year's Eve is past? I don't know. Let's see. I am deciding between this red color by Sinful Colors or this purple color by OPI. This was purchased at Marshall's. Or this gold from Essie. I am feeling very pulled to the gold sparkle, and I don't know why. Normally, I would always probably choose this one, but we're going to be different and listen to the calling that I have based on this color. All right, let's jump right in. I'm sorry this has taken so long already. So we're going to start by soaking one hand, and I'm going to begin talking with you. A trigger warning, this story time video does involve a car accident and maybe near-death experience, not of myself, but of somebody else. So when I am thinking about story time content, I feel like I don't have much to talk about, though I know people in my life would say otherwise, remind me of things that I went through and everything. And when I do really sit down, I actually do have lots of different stories, but this one for today's video is recent, and this happened the day before Christmas Eve, and it's kind of there's no real moral to the story. There's no real point or lesson. Maybe there is a lesson in there, but it's sort of just a big thing that happened to me recently that I thought I would share with you. So it's just something that happened. Yeah, there's nothing really more to it than that. So let's see. So it began the day before Christmas Eve, and it was a very, very, very rainy day. I mean, pouring rain, heavy, heavy rain, nonstop. It was at the level of rain where vision is definitely obstructed on the road, or where you at least need to go very slow on the freeway. So, me, my husband, and my son, who's almost 3, by the way. He'll be 3 at the end of March, which is so wild to me. So anyway, and he's had 3/4 of his life in COVID life, in the pandemic. Isn't that so sad? All right, so we're driving to my mom's house, which is about an hour and a half away. This is quite early in the morning. We decided to get on the road, I think around 7:30 or 8 a.m. And I just like to do that. It is only an hour and a half away, but it kind of just maximizes our time. So we, of course, pack up the car in the rain. Well, my husband packs up the car in the rain, and I do everything else basically. So we get on the road, and it is just really, really rainy. We're driving very carefully. I actually had taken a video of the rain on the windshield to send to my in-laws just to show them what the weather was like where we live. My son, of course, thought it was the most exciting thing in the world and was laughing and hooting and hollering with the pouring rain, enjoying the windshield wipers and everything. So we're in the car for about 40 minutes or so, and I just had this feeling, I just did not have a good feeling, and I thought to myself, you know, am I feeling anxious? It's the holidays. There's lots going on internally for some, for me sometimes during the holidays. Am I tired? Did I not sleep good? What am I, I was sort of going inside and like dropping in and assessing, why do I feel unsettled? Am I nervous about the rain? My husband's, driving really slow and really smart, and so then it kind of just, I don't know, I just sort of ignored it and just kept on going on. We're talking, whatever. All of a sudden, so we are on a 4-lane freeway, and in the left lane, so the fast lane, the farthest left lane, all of a sudden we notice a lot of tail lights like slowing down, and we're like, oh, something, it was so sudden, something must have just happened. So as we approach, we see cars get out of the fast lane that we're in, they switch lanes and drive off. But that leaves us coming up behind a car that is completely smashed. And in the front, you could tell. And it was at a stop. And we're like, just looking, trying to visually take in what happened. And all of a sudden, and so this car, we're in the far left lane here on the left, and all of a sudden this car starts to go across all the lanes. And at first we're like, oh, is it switching lanes to get on the right shoulder to pull over? And then as it comes in front of us, I see all the airbags are deployed, and I see somebody through a crack in the window hunched over. I said to my husband, oh my God, this person is unconscious. That car is veering, follow that car. So my husband puts on our emergency lights, and I cannot tell you the timing of this. So remember, we're on a 4-lane freeway. We weren't going very fast, but we're like on the freeway in the rain, and there's cars all around us. When this happened, when the car started to veer to the right across the other lanes, and we looked in the rearview mirror, there was no cars. It was like a miracle of this big break in traffic. And so my husband was able to sort of tailgate this car that was veering slowly across these other lanes. As we make it towards now the right-hand shoulder, my husband hadn't even put our car in park. I jump out of the car and run over to that car that is still moving, but very slowly now, and almost down a huge ravine. And I ran up to that car. I opened the passenger side door, and I somehow put the car in park, and it stopped it from going down into the ravine. I do not know how I acted so fast. My husband and I both, though, did assess. We have our son in our car. We weren't just being impulsive and reckless with our child in the car. We looked around. Okay, big break in traffic. This person needs help. So we were able to follow that car. And my husband is a very good driver, very quick thinking, and he's obsessed with cars. So he's very much into, I don't know, that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I open, mind you, remember, this whole time it is pouring rain. So I open the passenger door, I lean in, and I somehow I reached for the, it was the kind of car that had the, I want to say joystick, because that's what my son calls the thing. He learned that from his show, but probably from Blippi. So I put it in park, and meanwhile, my husband he readjusts our car to make sure that him and my son are not really close up to that car in case it was to get hit. He sort of focuses on finding a safer position for our car while I am off at the car with the accident. I hope this is making sense. So when I had opened the passenger door and put it in park, it was a man driving, was unconscious. And I immediately said, my name is Ashley. You were in an accident. I'm here to help you. We're calling 911. When we saw this first happen, before we even pulled over and got out of the car, I tried calling 911 so fast, and the line was busy. So when we finally pulled over and I had put his car in park, I had motioned to my husband, like the phone, like call 911. So my husband, after securing our car safely, calls 911 while I am with the man who was in an accident. I go into his car and he's unconscious, but he comes to and he starts like coughing really hard, like he's going to vomit. And I just tell him, you know, the ambulance is on its way. We've called 911. I'm here to help you. Can you tell me what's hurting you? And I am not like, I was trained for years in CPR and first aid because of the jobs that I had. So that's the only training I had, but my certification is not up to date. But anyway, so I tell him, you know, what's hurting you? What's your name? And he tells me his name is S. I'm not going to say his name here, even though it's just a first name, but still. And he's starting to dry heave and come to. All the airbags are deployed, and I am sort of sitting on the passenger side seat. Now, in retrospect, my husband told me I should have put my seatbelt on in the car with him, and I did not do that. So obviously, I'm not trained on how to do this. And, you know, looking back, maybe there were things we would have done differently. For example, I did not put my mask on. I mean, who's thinking of that unless you are a first responder? And of course, the person in his car didn't have a mask on, but it's beside the point. So anyway, he tells me his name and he's trying to talk. I say, just relax, okay? And I'm saying, okay, S, don't worry, you were in an accident. The ambulance is coming, and I said, you know, I was looking around his car. Does he have anything for me to hold up for him to vomit into? This is really hard to tell you this story while doing my nails because I really want to use my hands to talk, and probably not a good combo. Anyway, so I'm like looking around his car to see if there's like a bag or a cup or something. And I notice a reflective vest like a construction worker would wear. And the car's actually pretty clean, and it just had that vest and like a hard hat. So I realized, oh, okay, he's in construction. And so finally he turns and looks at me, and oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, so for days, only a few days after this happened, I would be falling asleep, and then I would get like a flashing image of his eyes. And I'm not traumatized from it, but it's like my brain and my nervous system was still processing that event where my adrenaline was obviously extremely high. I'm telling it to you very calmly now, but of course, at the moment, your adrenaline is on. You are responding to someone who possibly could be dead or seriously injured. So anyway, he doesn't end up vomiting, and he turns and looks at me, and his eyes were so confused and so scared. And I didn't, all I was doing was just reassuring him, you're okay, the ambulance is coming, I'm here with you, you're safe now, your car is parked. And then he started to talk, and he said, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. And I said, were you on your phone or were you I said, were you on your phone or did you fall asleep? Because it was so early in the morning and I saw that he was a construction worker. I thought, oh my gosh, maybe he was working overnight and had to drive home. He said, no, I didn't fall asleep. I went to my job site, which was very far from his home, and this accident happened about in between both of those cities. And he said, no, I get up at work at 4 a.m. and I drive to my job site and get there around 5:30, and then I sleep until it's time to start. But they had gotten rained out at the job site, so they sent everyone home. And so he was on this drive home. So I start, I just say, okay, hold on 1 minute. And I got out of the car to go check with my husband. And he finally got someone from 911 on the line. He was on hold for so long, he said. The person, so I start talking to the dispatcher, and she tells me to get in, stay with this person, with S. And I'm in the car with him and on the phone with 911, and she's having me do like a full, visual assessment. Is he talking? What's happening? Is he breathing? Yes, he's talking, but I could tell he had obviously gotten a concussion or something. And so she says, okay, don't leave his side, someone's coming. So we hang up and I just stay with him, and it starts to register with him what happened. And I explained to him what I saw. He told me that his left arm was in pain. He kept holding his left side and like he was in serious pain. There was no visible blood. He was just holding and saying, oh, my arm, and the impact was on the left side. And I figured his arm was broken for sure. And really, that was he was pinned underneath the steering wheel from the airbags mostly, not necessarily from the car damage. And so all we could do at that time was wait. And, of course, my adrenaline's going. By this time, I'm soaking wet. I'm literally drenched to the bone. And he starts to tell me, because, I'm just at this point trying to make conversation to keep him alert and to keep him feeling safe. I mean, how safe can you feel? But you know what I mean, to calm him down. So I said, I had told him, oh, yes, my name's Ashley, and my husband and son are in the car behind. And I explained, we saw what, we came upon you, and then you veered over. And he goes, I was veering right? And I said, yes, across 3 lanes of traffic of the freeway, And he said, I thought I was going left. I said, no. And then he starts to say, my son. He did not have his son in the car. And he said, I was on the phone with my son on the car phone. The car had like a big screen on it. You know how the newer cars have that. And he said, I could hear my son saying, Daddy, what happened? Where are you? And he started crying and talking about his son. This man nearly died. Of course he's thinking of his child. We all do if we're parents, don't we? And I asked him about his son, and he told me that his son was 4 years old, and I said, oh, I have a son too, and he's in the car. And he was very confused. He said, he's in the car behind me? And I said, yes, my husband and son are in the car. And he was confused. But I just kept trying to talk to him, and he told me about his son and where he lived. And this is while he's sort of, I don't want to say gasping out of pain, but definitely he was in pain. And, but it was, he would wail out every now and then, and I would just sit with him and say, I'm here, you're safe. I did put my hand on his unwounded shoulder, very, very gently because I didn't have him move. Of course, I didn't touch him any other way. And I just said, I'm here. It's okay. You're not alone, while he was like yelling in pain. And then basically in between those waves of pain is when he told me, about his son. And he was very, very emotional. He was very scared. And he told me about his son's mother. Briefly, we actually have the same name. And then it started to soak in about the damage to the car and the headache that all of this is going to be. And pretty much by then, I was just sitting with him in silence, really. Not in silence, but just kept reassuring him, gently patting his shoulder. I didn't know what else to do. There was nothing else for me to do at that point, given the conditions. And so finally, the ambulance arrives, CHP, that's California Highway Patrol, and they get to him immediately. They have to pry open the door. They didn't need anything like the jaws of life or anything like that, but they did have to pry open the door. And then they ripped away all the airbags, and they got him out and onto the stretcher and into the ambulance. And then I hung around to tell the people what happened, and then I never saw him again. I do not know what happened to him. I do not know. I know that he did not die because I don't believe his injuries were so bad, but I don't know what became of the injuries, what actually happened. I don't know if he was reunited with his partner, or he referred to her as his baby mama, so I don't know what became of all of that, but I do hope that he was very much reunited with his son, whom he loves so, so much, and wanted to talk to me, a stranger, about on his worst day. And so yeah, I ended up, so it's still like literally pouring, pounding rain. It was really hot sitting in the car with him. It got so steamy inside because of the rain and the two of us in there and talking, and him in pain and everything that happened. And so I just ended up talking to the police and whatnot. I didn't see the actual accident, but what we gathered was that I do think he was trying to make a phone call on the car center console, screen. And it was pouring rain, and there was huge flooding puddles in the lane that he's in, and it was just a basic sedan car. So I think that he probably veered a little bit and encountered a large flooded area of the freeway and probably overcorrected and slammed left into the cement barrier and sort of bounced a little bit off of that, and we kind of came at that time, and the car moved across all the lanes. It didn't like ricochet because it moved slowly, because he was knocked unconscious, so his foot was not on the accelerator or anything. It was just moving to the right. And so and part of the thing, when I was in the car with him, he was confused and wanted to know what happened, and I explained, you veered to the right, and right there's a huge ravine. It's amazing you didn't make it down, and we caught you just in time. And he goes, he was trying to register everything, and I didn't want to continue to escalate his nerves or fears, so I didn't, I was just trying to be very minimal about the details. And anyway, so that's my story. That happened the day before Christmas Eve. So I still had an hour drive to my mom's house, and I was literally drenched to the bone. I mean, my undergarments, everything were totally soaked. And I called my mom and was like, we're gonna be late, because this happened. And I texted a couple friends, and my friend who you've seen on this channel, she was like, oh my gosh, Ashley, that was so amazing, or whatever, that you were able to help him. And I assumed that most of us would help, wouldn't we? But I want to say something about that. When we first pulled over and I went to his aid, after I had opened the door and put the car in park, I was waving my hands to other oncoming traffic for help because I had tried to call 911. The line was busy. And so I wanted to get other people on. I know that doesn't make sense now, but to also call 911. And so I was waving at traffic like, stop, help, help. Nobody stopped for us. Like 10 cars went by and not one of them stopped. And they were going slow enough to stop because, when you see an accident, everyone slows down and does the rubbernecking. And they were all going at a pace where they could have slowed down. And there was also room on the side to park. Now, I'm not going to judge someone for making a call, right? Of like, this doesn't feel safe. It's pouring rain. Totally get that. It's definitely their prerogative, to obviously prioritize their own safety. This makes so much sense to me. And at the same time, I do feel a little let down that nobody helped, that it was only me and my husband that this whole time after this very big event that we were there for this person. So anyway, we finished the drive home. I was so cold. I was shivering. My husband turned on the heat seaters in the heat. And one of the things that was going to make me get a little emotional, sorry. First of all, when he was talking to me about his son, of course, I just felt a lump in my throat as a parent myself. And so grateful that that little boy's daddy is still alive and survived what happened. And when I got into the car after it all, after I talked to the CHP and everything, I got into the car, and my son, who watched this whole thing, which is I have feelings about that. Luckily, there was no blood or anything at all. He just basically saw me running to the car, and then he was very excited to see the ambulance and the police and the fire trucks. But when I got into the car, he said to me, "Yay, Mommy, you saved that car, Mommy." And that was so sweet to me, that he recognizes and is seeing what it means to help people in need, because that is how I was raised. My father was very much like that, and it was this moment of recognizing these really wonderful values that I was raised with being modeled, embodied to my son in that moment. And so I felt so good about that. And so anyway, we arrived at my mom's, and all the family and cousins and my siblings were there, and everyone, wanted to know what happened. And I just had to go straight to the shower because I was so drenched and cold. And I noticed in the shower, my adrenaline was still very much flowing. I couldn't really even focus on conversations. Like, I just needed to be alone and allow my central nervous system to de-escalate. So I just took a really hot shower. I did some movement, trying to shake things out and being with my breath, and and being with my breath, like grounding myself and just sort of processing through it, and also holding this person in hope and in love and safety. And I don't know what became of him, but I imagine he's okay. So yeah, that's sort of my story. And then we went on to have Christmas. And you know, this story isn't even really mine, is it? It's more his, that man. And I don't, you know, certainly don't want to exploit his experience, which could have been the worst day of his life, one of the worst days. And at the same time, it is an experience I also had. And so I wanted to share that, and I would love to hear any feedback on experiences you've had, anything like that. And I want to say one more thing, if you're still here, about not helping when people need help. When I was 16 years old, I went to the mall with my friend. It was a very hot summer day. I mean, like where I lived, it's like over 100 Fahrenheit, obviously. And we went to the mall, and this is when the very first Pirates of the Caribbean movie came out. And we were at the mall that had a movie theater, and we had gone there to go to the movies. And there was a Burger King there, and we were in line for Burger King before the movies. And I fainted out of nowhere. To this day, I do not know what happened. I have no idea, but I collapsed. And before I had collapsed, I felt like I was on a boat. And I remember seeing Pirates of the Caribbean like on the theater board, and remember being like, oh, I'm on a boat, like Pirates of the Caribbean. And then boom, I totally collapsed and fainted. And I came to my friend slapping my face like, Ashley, get up, get up. And I stood up, and then I totally was drenched in sweat. It's like all of a sudden my body just sweat massively. And do you know what? Not one person helped us. Not one. And we're kids. I remember getting up and my friend guiding me to a table nearby, and this woman, a mother, looking at me with like disgust or something on her face. I don't know if it was concern or disgust. It was hard. Disgust, it's hard for me to decipher now, but she just looked at me. Nobody came to me and said, are you okay? Do you need help? What's going on? And so we sat down at this table. I called my mom, talked it through. She was very scared, you know, very alarmed, whatever. My friend ended up driving us home, and I got the proper care I needed. But my point is that no one came to help us in a mall crowded full of people all around. Nobody came. And so I guess if there is a point to this story, it is being mindful that if you see somebody in need and you assess that it's safe for your own self to approach, then please do so. Please do so. All right. Well, here are my basic golden nails. Not too cute, but they're pretty short right now, and I don't have, obviously, anything coming up or anywhere to go. So it's just nice to have a little bit of something on them. My son is very much into sparkles. He loves when I wear glittery nail polish. He likes to talk about all the colors he sees. Even this is just gold, but he'll enjoy it. Thank you so much for being with me today as I share this story. I love hearing from all of you in the comments, and I welcome any feedback or similar experiences or anything that you'd like in that space. I'll see you next time.